Okay, this is Bravo. He's an 8-year-old Irish sports horse, believed to have cruising in his bloodlines. Bravo's been with Gina for 2 years now.
Yeah.
And he was is a show jumper, has show jumped up to 1.10 m. But what's prevalent with Bravo is that he has a really uneven gait in his hind quarter, and that makes it really difficult for the horse to connect when worked and in hand. So what Gina's got on Bravo today is a breast girth and roller, and we have a body wrap around his back end, and the body wrap's used to bring a connection to the whole horse, and particularly the hind quarter, and helps bring softness through the body because he has an awareness of his body. It's basically like, instead of always asking the horse to stay engaged behind, the body wrap does it for you. The uneven gait that Bravo has makes it incredibly difficult for him to have farriery work done on him and get his hind feet trimmed. He's lost a lot of confidence because of his problem behind. So his feet could be of a better balance that would help the horse, but it's get that catch-22, which is best for the horse to have him shod more regularly and go through the process, or let him keep doing the work and let the shoeing go on a little bit longer. Ideally his balance would be a little bit better in his feet more often, but you have to work with what you got. You know, you can't have the ideal at all situations. If you see his hind gait, he gets very stiff and locked through his hind quarter. So doing the groundwork exercises. Now Gina's using again the Peggy Cummings halter from Connected Riding, but doing a variation of Pellington touch and connected riding with the horse. So up here she's connected to the horse up at the halter, and although it looks quite simple what she's doing, she's actually asking the horse to do what we call a bit of an S. So she's taking his head to the right and then bringing him back to the left, and that gets the horse to use his balance and move his balance. And a lot of horses find this really difficult to do correctly when you first start. You'll feel them not be able to have the ability to move to the right or left as well. Here she's just using another example to ask the horse to move up and out through his shoulder. He just lost a bit of connection in his hind quarter then. As she was doing that, he stopped powering off his hind quarter. But you go through these series of exercises and you can work on that. It's as important that the handler is staying connected to, because if the handler's not as mindful about what they're doing, then it follows through to the horse. If we're just walking around and not thinking about what's happening, then the horse is going to be pretty much doing the same. So, for example, if Gina's going to ask him to walk off now, she's going to be thinking through her body connection and come through, and just thinking, come with me. And again, he just needs to be a little bit more active in that hind quarter as he comes through, because anyway this horse has a habit of not bringing his hind quarter through because of his injury. It therefore becomes more important that he's encouraged to keep bringing it through. And even in hand, it's important that this horse learns to carry himself through, because just because he's then going to be ridden doesn't mean to say he's going to bring his hind quarter through just because somebody sat up on him. It's important that the horse learns to use himself effectively on the ground so that he carries his whole posture through his life, as opposed to, you know, the 45 minutes he might go into a training session when ridden. This horse hasn't been ridden for, I think, since May, April, May, because he's needed to go back and do the groundwork. He's had some time off, and he's not far off being ridden now. What Gina's doing there is she's just connecting through to his cheek as she works with the horse, and by doing that, when you connect through to the cheek, a lot of horses will slow down and back off you. But if he can keep that connection as he's working through here, and you'll see Sam, he's thinking about what's happening. A lot of horses push their head up when you connect to their cheek, because a lot of it, when you push on the cheek and affect here, if they're tight and lumbar, they'll either shut down and not move as effectively. So therefore she's teaching him here to soften his cheek as he's walking, because when he softens his cheek when he's walking, he learns to stay relaxed. And the reason what Gina's using there is what we call dingo. And basically what it's doing, it's giving the horse a signal from the hind quarter to come forward. So he learns to engage his back end to come forward. And in this exercise, Gina's staying up by his head, because that gives him a better balanced direction. When you walk down by the horse's shoulder, just in there's various exercises we do walk at their shoulder, but if you stay behind the shoulder, it's always like staying behind someone as you're talking to them. Whereas if you come up top, in front, he can see you a lot better. And we change the position, but to start with, the teamwork is primarily based on staying up. We're not just walking them through because we feel we need to walk them through a set of obstacles. We're actually feeling for a lot of things. To how does he bend right? How does he bend left? How does he negotiate the turn? How do his legs cross over in the turn? How's the ability to him to move his legs nicely around the turn? You'll also notice Gina swap sides. We don't just stay on the same side. Because otherwise you're just programming one side of the Gina's here just asking the horse to step slowly and then walks him on out of it. So the horse learns to shorten his stride. It's a real useful tool to get the horse to start to shift his weight backwards, moving. And all these exercises that Gina's doing, when someone's on the horse, we can then use another person on the ground to start taking the horse through these exercises. So effectively what she's asking him to do there with the shoulder is a small shoulder in, which is a term used in dressage. And it's just getting the horse to move through his shoulders. And even there, Bravo is just going through what we call a process. You can see his eye, he's just thinking.
He just gulped and his lips are quivering.
Yeah. And so for him, for whatever's happened there for that horse, you know, something changed in him physically as he went through that process, and you just have to allow them time to do that. And it might just look to the common viewer that he's just going to sleep, but he actually isn't. And now he's back in the room, pretty much. Another great exercise, which what Gina's doing now, is what we call the wither rock. Where you can see, I don't know if you can zoom in on that, and you can see her moving his weight from, now it's in the right leg, and then she's going to rock it across to the left leg. And that you'll feel in horses, for them to be able to do that, they have to soften in their sternum and at the base of their neck, for them to be able to do it effectively. And if you can teach your horse to do the wither rock or the like shoulder press that Gina's doing there.
And look how he's processing.
Yeah, and this horse is really processing through this movement. It gets them to soften, and it's not just their shoulders that they're moving. He'll be moving through his whole body as he does this. And the more ability the horse has to move his weight from side to side, the more of the body that comes into action. And again, there's a cheek press, and you could really clearly see then the head come to the right as Gina did that, and you can see it again there. And that is the connection between the skull and the atlas just turning and moving. Although he's got his eyes closed, he's really deep in process as this is happening to him. Because you can see his head's turning, his ears are flickering as he's going through this process. He's not just shut down and not going through it.
And this guy was always very nervous and always on edge, waiting. Like you could see, he anticipates. But he's like 100 times better now than he was. Everything for him was, he's so anxious to please, but I think because he's wrong behind, that, you know, it's a little difficult for him. So he made him more and more anxious. So for him, just being able to relax and drop his head and, you know, completely free through here, where he was very tight. It's lovely to see now.
Samuel.